and welcome to the Pure Property Podcast with Track Capital, where we talk about all things property and property investment. The aim of the podcast is to give you our industry insight and knowledge to help investors to invest intelligently. Now, the past few weeks, we've been talking heavily about the UK market with everything going on. But of course, we have our Dubai office and our Dubai investment side as well. So we thought it would be a good idea to take a break from talking solely about the UK market and what's going on the property scene and head over to sunny Dubai and focus on that property market today, because it is a very interesting one and it is one that we get a lot of questions about from UK investors and a lot of investors across the globe as well. And we're going to be taking data from a recent report that came out from Property Monitor, and we're going to get Nick's feedback and thoughts on this as well, because he's based out in the Dubai office, so he's on the ground, he's got real good insight and intelligence on the Dubai market as it's happening, as it's live. So it's great to get his feedback and thoughts on that. Now, this report, positive overall, as we've seen from Dubai for a number of months, and you could probably say years as well, with everything going on there.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it is really good to see, and a bit like we saw with the UK property market previously, it's like, when's it ever going to stop? And it doesn't seem like it is with everything that's going on there. But interestingly, this report reports double-digit price growth recorded for 2022, which is incredible for Dubai and incredible for anybody who's got in there early. But also, it's very interesting for anybody looking to enter the Dubai property market or real estate market, as it's classed out there, going forward. And price rises again in December, and the year ended with 11% price increases across 2022. So a very, very strong market. And is this something you would have seen coming, Nick? Did you, at the beginning of last year, did you think, it's going to be this strong, or how did you sort of see that playing out at the beginning of last year?
I think the whole market anticipated further steady growth. What I would say is that 11% is an average, obviously, across the city. So some areas would have been slightly below that and some areas higher than that. I mean, in some regions, you've literally seen 20 to 30%, price rises per year in some of these locations, such as Business Bay, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I think a lot of people saw it coming. It's great. It's refreshing for me to obviously get the insights from the UK market, but then to speak about the Dubai market, because it's drastically more positive. The sentiment here is overall, there's a lot happening, a lot going on. So everyone's happy. There's investing, a lot of investing going on, a lot of money coming into the city. So yeah, very busy. I think a lot of people did see this steady growth, and over the next year or two, we do foresee the same. It's likely to soften at some point, but at the moment we expect it to be similar to what we've seen last year, for this year and for next year as well.
I think what's incredible as well, before we just dive into the report, a couple of things. Firstly, when you speak about Dubai, one of the cities that it does get compared with, and obviously relevant to ourselves, is London, for example, in terms of the caliber of property, the type of hub that Dubai is, with businesses, etc. And you look at the strength of Dubai, obviously 11% average rise over the year, and you look at London, and obviously London's really struggled, hit sort of a bit of a sluggish point within the property market, both rental and capital growth side as well, which again is very exciting to see. And we always say, don't we, when we talk on the podcast, about the value in Dubai in terms of property prices when compared to like cities across. Again, is that feedback maybe you get when you do speak to people from the UK? Is that sort of a shock to them?
Yeah, I think it's not the feedback we get. It is a shock to them, because a lot of people do see Dubai in some places, especially these ultra prime micro locations, is very expensive. You look at the ticket prices, you see millions of pounds or millions of dirhams, and then people are shocked. But it's exactly what you said. When you compare, especially the prime market, the price per square foot to London, Hong Kong, Sydney, Paris, Miami, wherever it may be, it's still considered largely as a whole drastically undervalued. So if you look at prime, rates per square foot, there's, I think, Atlantis Royal Residences, which is a very famous prime development here that's just opened. They had Beyonce performing at the opening ceremony, believe it or not. I think that was going at 4,000 dirhams per square foot at one stage. When you looked at a comparable, not even a comparable, when you looked at a new build development in London, I think that was around 8,000 dirhams per square foot. So you're getting ultra luxury, world leading projects for drastically lower rates if you're buying at the right time compared to these other global cities. So supply for the right properties is still very restricted. Overall, there's a lot of supply here, but for good quality properties, supply is very restricted. And that undervalue principle is commonly spoke about at that end of the market. So huge amount of room for growth as we roll into the next few years.
And as we always say on the podcast, it's always encouraging to see the government as well still wanting to bring people and business to the city. They're doing everything they can. They're sort of shifting their ways as well to make it more accessible to people. I just read yesterday actually that you can now do direct debits, for example, when paying your rent is now set up in Dubai, or being set up, which again is another step forward, where before it was checks well in advance and paid, etc. Which, so again, people coming from different countries would see that as a little bit alien and not used to it. But you can see how they're sort of changing it to make it more accessible to sort of different nationalities and people coming from across the globe.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to make it more consumer friendly and modernize it. It's really funny because Dubai is, ultra futuristic and ultra, innovative in some ways, but then in some ways you look at some of the systems, the processes, the delays, like things like opening business bank accounts or the check system that you mentioned. These all need to be updated and sped up. But you go to some places and you've got face recognition to enter developments and things like that. So some of it is very exciting. But you're right, the government is behind this. The reason they're behind it is because they're getting money from it, right? So they want to drive visitors and residents into Dubai via visa changes and generally making it more attractive by improvement of infrastructure, investment into education, health facilities, leisure and entertainment, obviously allowing the developers to build out here. So yeah, they've got big plans and they want to grow the population here by I think it's 5.8 million over the next 15 or so, or 25 or so years. So yeah, certainly a lot happening, but I think it's definitely one to watch for the future.
Exciting stuff. I tell you what, they're definitely a lot quicker at making changes than the UK government anyway.
And they do what they say as well. So
exactly. It's good to see. But yeah, so taking account of the report we're going to go into from Property Monitor. So firstly, usually you tend to find towards the end of a year, December time, the market will slow down, but we didn't really see that in Dubai. They had a growth of 1.7%, so good positive growth there in Dubai. And do you think there was a catalyst behind that, or was that just general momentum with the market?
I think it was just general momentum. I mean, yes, there's typically a slowdown here in December as we go into the Christmas period. Normally, just because obviously there's so much expat activity here and a lot of different nationalities that do celebrate Christmas. They go home to families, etc., etc. But at the same time, there's a big portion of the market that obviously are not, celebrating Christmas. So in general, it doesn't slow down to the same extent that it would in the UK, for example. So yeah, it's just, with developers bringing out projects at certain times, you've got to remember, if you miss a launch here or you're 2 days late to a launch, you could miss the best opportunity. So part of it, I believe, is the general market momentum and the pattern, but also it's a case of, developers launching projects in December and people having to buy it or they simply miss out. Demand is that high at the moment. So yeah, it's something that I think most people saw happening. I don't think people were planning to spend, half of their December with their feet up at home like some of the solicitors in the UK. So it's very exciting, and rolling into 23, we're going to see more of that.
And strongest December sales performance on record, this report states, and that's amidst the second highest volume of yearly sales ever seen. So again, incredible figures there for December. Now, did you again, on the ground, is that apparent? Was it absolutely crazy in December? Did it sort of throw you off track a little bit?
I wouldn't say it's thrown us off track. It seems like when I'm looking at these reports, and obviously we do extensive due diligence, looking at the areas we focus on, what products are performing well, how's the off-plan market doing. Companies like Property Monitor, who we're looking at today, but also direct to buy land department data. All this information you can monitor on a monthly basis. It's very transparent here. So what we do is over the past, few years, you've seen this happening. It's been a reoccurring thing. So we've constantly seen these announcements saying, "Oh, this has been the biggest month ever. This has been the biggest month," and it just keeps surpassing itself, and those records keep being broken. So it's no surprise to me at all that December was, one of the second highest they've ever seen. So as I said, there's a number of reasons for that. But to put it in perspective, if we just look at January, even in the past 12 months, it's gone through the roof. So let's have a look at just apartment sales. So this is Dubai Land Apartment data. So effectively the equivalent of the land registry. January 2023, e.g. the month we've just gone through, versus January 2022, the volume of sales increased by 98.6%. So it's nearly doubled in the past versus the past year. So year on year, the amount of transactions being done has doubled almost. And that's, again, real market data. It's not a guess. It's not an estimate. This is based on real life transactions. So that gives you an idea of, the steam in the market and the pace the market's moving at the moment. And again, this is ultra recent. So this is from last month. It's not like the UK where you have to wait a few months. You almost get real-time data here. So, it's been really, really exciting. And that December we saw is just rolled straight over to January, and it's probably surpassed that now. So, yeah, the steam is definitely in the market here.
Incredible stuff. And then off-plan resales, sort of making up just shy of 20% of the market. Now, one of the questions which this report does raise is this being driven by sort of speculators, or what do you put behind that sort of figure? Because off plan, as we do with Track Capital UK side, it's obviously the main part of our business here, but it's not something as prominent in the UK as your standard buy-to-lets and secondary markets.
Yep. Off-plan growth has been steadily growing here over the past couple of years. So yes, it makes up about 20% of the market in terms of everything like, apartments, villas, commercial plots, etc., etc. But if you actually looking at the Dubai Land Department data of off-plan properties versus ready properties, in January 2023, there was 4,000. Sorry, let me just filter this report here. I'm reading 4,495 off-plan apartment transactions. So nearly 5,000 transactions just off-plan, just apartments. Okay. Now that, again, if you look at villas, that was over 1,000. But if you look at that figure based on ready properties, or what we call here the secondary market versus the primary market, which is off-plan, the off-plan segment made up 59% of those transactions. So in other words, in January, 59% of the transactions were off-plan, and the remainder was the secondary market, or buying direct from owners. So that growth is still very, very much in the market. There's a couple of reasons for that. I think one of them, and the most dominant, is the fact that the payment plans or the payment structures here can be very, very attractive. There's a huge amount of international money coming into Dubai for a number of reasons we don't need to dive into now. But Russia, obviously, in recent times, are ploughing capital into the city. Obviously, all the Gulf regions are seeing Dubai as a bit of an exciting location that they can perhaps nip over on holiday from Saudi and enjoy, a few weeks a year, as well as, invest in their capital. Indian, Pakistanis, and then over to Europe, France, Germany, huge buyers, and obviously the UK are one of the top buyers here as well. So all this international money coming into the market are not typically familiar at home with such generous payment plans. So all the developers here, a lot of them, because they're so big and they're cash rich, they don't need all the capital up front. So they do ask for quite high deposits on occasions, but most of the time you can spread your property cost over 3, 4, 5, up to 8 years. And that's very, very attractive. But typically you only see that on off-plan properties. Now, obviously, people will want to get mortgages, but a lot of the mortgage market has shifted because of the rises in interest rates. So if you get one of these payment plans, you're not paying any interest. They're interest free, and you can only get them on the off plan market. So
Wow.
that's one of the reasons I think it's a really, really big factor. Number two here, and one of the ones that I think is really different to the UK. When you buy in typically a safe UK city, normally if you're buying in the city centre, you're going to be fine. Okay. You know, if you buy in London 30, 45, 50 minutes, 60 minutes out, you're going to be fine. In Dubai, due to the supply in the market here, there's a lot of development going on. Okay. Some of it better than others. So what happens is the investors have to be a bit more picky and make sure they're getting the right product. And the way they get the right product is by choosing the right unit. So getting that good view, getting that unique layout, being close to the on-site facilities, etc. And as well as the unit choice, the development choice, all these new projects you're seeing, co-working spaces, business lounges, huge outdoor cinemas, obviously swimming pools, running tracks, like the list goes on and on. Now, most of this stuff is going to be on the off-plan market because it's going to be new, shiny. They're going to be able to choose their unit. So between getting good financing and being able to get a really unique product, I think those are the two main drivers in the off-plan market. And then you've got the last segment, just to touch on the speculators. Yes, there is a lot of gamblers in the Dubai market. The reason being is it's quite volatile and quite diverse compared to other markets. You might look at London or Hong Kong, which is a lot more stable. Whereas here you'll get pockets which perform really, really well and you can make 20, 30% a year, and other pockets where it might stagnate. You might, it might go 1%, 2%. So you do get spectators in that sense, but these are often, very high net worth individuals, very cash rich, buying up floors. They know what they're doing. They're playing the game. So there's certainly an element of that in the market. But overall, I think off-plan can be a great option, especially with the developers that are in, the top 5 to 10 in the marketplace. Great product, great pricing, very safe, great reputation, using escrow accounts, etc., etc. So yeah, there's a bit of spiel on the off-plan market there.
And I think the one thing that gave me reassurance when I was on the ground there in Dubai was the amount of locals that just buy off plan and have confidence in buying off plan, and it's just normal to them, which I think
Mm.
again just shows, because if it wasn't safe, secure, and the right thing to do and the norm, they wouldn't be. It'd be the locals that'd be the first to be like, no, I'm not touching that. But to see them actually actively buying that way is obviously reassuring for overseas investors, which I think is quite a good factor to think about there. So developers show renewed confidence, and this report says that they brought a record 53,000 units to the market in 2022, and that had a total value in excess of 155 billion dirhams. That is an incredible number. So what's your thoughts
Mm.
on that, Nick?
Yeah, so I mean, what we did see is, I suppose, just to set the scene a bit, because of the amount of development that takes place in this city, project launches are massive here. It's a very, very big thing. Okay, so developers will hire full stadiums. They'll get celebrities. They'll tee everyone up weeks in advance, and then bang, the projects launch, and then vast quantities of units are sold. But what I'm trying to get is that developers have to be very strategic with how and when they bring a product to market. So what you saw in 2020 is a slowdown of releases for obvious reasons. And then this slowly phased out, and then bang, 2021, 2022, developers were sitting on stock that they knew they could launch, and they've just started to launch those, which was a bit of a backlog from the previous years. So what you've seen is developers probably saw what happened in 2021, saw the level of prices that were being achieved, especially in the mid to higher end of the market. They saw the demand for off-plan property, and as a result, they've been a lot more consistent with their launches, and it's getting grander and grander, each time it happens. So, yeah, that supply is a sign of the developers seeing the demand from buyers, seeing the confidence in off-plan. Obviously, it's the right market timing for them because it's very hot. Huge sales volumes actually taking place. So not forecasted volumes, it's huge volumes actually taking place. And yeah, that's ultimately what's driven those, huge amount of units coming to market. But what I will say, without going on too much of a side tangent, is that people see that number of 55,000 units coming to market. You've got to remember, some developer or most developers release projects 2-3 years in advance. So if there are new launches coming up, these are going to be delivered phased in a phased approach for a start. So that will allow not the market not to be saturated and not too much. Obviously, they want to sell, they want to demonstrate investment case, so they don't want stock sitting on the market. They do want to shift it. But secondly, what you've got to think about in the bigger picture is the amount of people that are coming to Dubai. Okay, so 50,000 units a year is, or launching in a year, for example, is absolutely nothing in comparison to the volume of people that they want to bring here. As I say, they want to bring 5.8. They want an increase on our current population of 3.3. They want to increase it by nearly 6 million by 2040. So if you bring 50, 60, 70,000 units to market a year, obviously you're still way off the level of demand that's going to be there. And let me tell you that, as I said earlier, the demand for medium to high-end property in Dubai is huge, but the supply is not quite there. There's a vast array of supply of older, more dated properties, more on the outskirts, but you try and develop on the Palm Jumeirah, you try and develop in downtown, you try and get a plot in Dubai Marina, it's very, very hard for developers to do. And it's obviously exceptionally expensive. So when you look at the bigger picture, i.e. the amount of supply in the medium to high end and the amount of expected population growth in the future years, this supply or oversupply issue that people sometimes mention, it just doesn't stack up at that end of the market, which should give everyone confidence as well.
Yeah. And it's obviously interesting that, like most property markets, how still even in Dubai, location and product is key. Getting the right product in the right location is key to making sure that your investment is going to be as profitable as possible. Which brings me nicely on to the next point highlighted in this report, and that is returns. So investor returns, and this highlights gross rental yields continuing to rise, go up, with apartments just over 7%, making capital and rental returns irresistible for many investors. So we're seeing these returns strong, stable, and looks like on the rise.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because obviously we've spoken mostly about sales prices increasing, but the rent here is increasing as well. And that's for a number of reasons. That I think a lot of the younger age group are relocating to Dubai as more employers come here, young professionals, young executives, they want to live in Dubai. Secondly, what happens is people come here on holiday and they decide to live here after. And just a bit of data behind that, in 2022, one of the quarters, we had the highest hotel occupancy rates in the world at 82%. Obviously a big segment of that market comes back to Dubai and then eventually moves here. And just lastly as well, with the visa changes, this has been a huge difference, or made a huge difference. So remote working visas, they've brought freelancers or people starting companies that may be a bit younger into Dubai as well. So as a result of that, obviously the rental demand is gone through the roof, and what's causing that figure that you mentioned. Now, you've got to remember, Dubai is definitely a prime city. It's a major player now. It's on the world stage. It's definitely established itself. It's now a maturing market. So when you're saying 7%, yields, this is an average gross yield across the city. Again, what you've got to do is just compare that to other cities worldwide, as we keep mentioning, because some investors, namely amateur investors, will be looking for 8, 9, 10% returns, which just doesn't happen in major cities. Just lastly on this point, what I would mention as well, something that we've seen great success is the short-term let market. So Dubai is absolutely prime for a short-term let rental model. Now, for investors, you simply give your property over to a management company. They take care of everything. They advertise it on Airbnb and Booking.com. And then obviously you get guests or visitors coming to stay for a short period of time. And then over the year, if you're hitting 70, 75% occupancy rates, you could see that 7% go up to 9, 10, 11%. We've got developers with in-house management teams that quote 10, 11%. So yeah, really, really exciting on the short-term let market as well. So yes, you can get those stable long-term rental yields, which is what that report's quoting of the 7%. But don't forget, you can operate on the short-term let market as well and drive that up to into double digits.
Yeah, and your point on obviously the rental demand. Interestingly, I've seen recently a lot of youngsters wanting to go to Dubai, and these aren't youngsters with businesses or let's say high caliber professions. These are just youngsters, early 20s, just got your standard run of a mill job here in the UK, and they're just seeing the exposure that they're getting to Dubai and people they know going out there, all like you said, visit and holiday, and they're now moving out there just to get again a standard job. They're not getting sort of a banking job or that sort of tier level job. I'm talking just your standard good, easy access entry level job, and moving out there, and then they're obviously going to be renting. They're not the type of client who's going out there and purchasing a property to live and sort of set up shop. They're going out there to live. Probably best way to describe it is when you take like a year to go, or maybe sort of a summer to go be a rep in, I don't know, like Ibiza or something along those lines,
Yeah.
where you go out there, work and enjoy yourself. And that's what they're doing. And they're going to be these sort of tenant demographics now, which you need to sort of please, because they want the good location, they want the nice property. They'll probably, you got a 2-bed, they'll go out with their mates or maybe a work colleague that they meet there, share the apartment, and they'll be able to still pay those high rents that are being charged. And that increase in demand and increase of people coming to Dubai looking for that type of product and living there for however long it may be is again going to further increase these rental prices, and in turn your rental yield for that investment if you're getting in early.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great point. It's the way I would describe it is the rental market and the sales market in terms of the tenants and buyers is very diverse in Dubai. So Dubai used to have the impression of, being, well, it still does, being very materialistic and perhaps appealing to, only a certain type of people. But, that's drastically changed as people have got familiar with it and they've learned what's on offer here. As I've got to know Dubai over the years, since around 2014, it's changed significantly in terms of the people that do come here for a number of reasons. As you said, people come on holiday, friends going, social media is a big one as well. But the reason why I mention that is because, in the past where you used to do investor meetings or viewings with people that are 50, 60 years old, high net worths, and might own a few properties abroad and looking to enter the Dubai market. I've done viewings with 22, 23-year-olds that have got wealthy from crypto. They're going in, looking at 5-star buildings for, 400, 500,000 pounds. And you've got to cater to that market on the sales side, but also on the rental side. So you'll get people, as you say, right from looking for room shares in Dubai Marina or JBR, to people renting, little studio apartments. Studios are always the fastest to sell and fastest to rent here. Or sorry, not always, but the vast majority of time they are. And then you get, your executives who might have a good, city centre 1-bed, or they might prefer to be, on the Palm or a higher end tower in the Marina, right up to your families where you start to go out to the villa communities and the golf course views and the more greener, laid back lifestyle with the, dad or the mum commuting into town. So with that rise in improvement from the government with, the education standards, the healthcare standards, even the security in the property market, with it being more regulated, etc. This has all caused a vast array of people to want to move to Dubai. And as a result of that, as a property investor, you can profit on the rental market and you can profit from the upwards pressure in the housing prices as well.
Yeah. And moving on to sort of purchasing side as well, good thing to see on the property monitor report is mortgage volumes remain high. So that's obviously a positive sign in terms of one, people buying, but two, people accessing the finance, which again opens the market up to a vaster amount of people.
Yeah, I think at some stage we'll have to do an episode on mortgages in Dubai, but a lot of people don't realize it's exceptionally easy to obtain a mortgage here for a resident and a non-resident. So if you're sat in the UK, you can get a mortgage in Dubai if you've got a reasonable credit profile in the UK very, very easily. We're seeing that those mortgage rates still, mortgage volumes still high. I mean, fundamentally, it is a cash market here. So a lot of the locals of the Gulf region, they'll either buy with cash or Sharia compliant mortgages in some cases, but then a lot of that mortgage activity is probably driven by expats and non-residents. So yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, just a quick snapshot, you're looking at deposit levels slightly higher here of probably 40 to 50% in most cases required to get that mortgage, and then you can get obviously the lending on the rest of it. But it's certainly still very accessible when you look at the ticket prices. What you can get here for 150 grand. A well located 1-bedroom apartment. Buy off plan, you can get a great view. You get a swimming pool, be a freehold property. You'll get a car parking space. You'll have a balcony. Obviously, you've got the weather to attract the tenants. Do the short-term let market. So for 150 grand, you get a high-spec 1-bed apartment, 15 minutes drive from Dubai Marina, and you can benefit from these phenomenal capital growth rises as well as your 8, 9, 10% net return. So if you leverage that with 50%, then you can be in a great position. So yeah, certainly a lot on offer on the mortgage side, and we can help anyone through that process, whether you be a resident or non-resident.
Yeah, I mean, just all those sort of facts and data you've just gone over, including that on the mortgage as well, it really solidifies Dubai as an investment location to strongly consider, whether that's your first investment, if you don't own one, sort of where you currently are, and you're looking to invest in somewhere, then obviously Dubai is a very interesting place to consider because the fundamentals and what's going on in Dubai makes it a very strong investment case. So it's definitely worth considering. And in that report, is there anything else that jumped out at you which you think's definitely worth noting, Nick?
Just the last thing I'd mention, not from that report, but from a brand that I'm sure a lot of people in the UK and overseas will know, is Knight Frank. So they're one of the biggest, consultancies in the world in the real estate market. So they do huge dedicated research teams and analytics teams, and they've actually named Dubai to have the world's #1 residential growth rate for 2023 in the prime market. So leading the world in terms of the prime market growth. So, there's plenty of detail and research you can do, but if one of the biggest consultancies in the world is telling you, this is what's going to happen, then we need to listen to this. So yeah, really, really exciting stuff. At Track Capital, obviously we're expanding here significantly. We're bringing on a vast range of products. So whether you're looking at that entry level that I spoke about, whether you're interested in a mortgage or you're looking at a payment plan spread over 7-8 years, we can help with that, right up to people that are looking for luxury holiday homes that they might want to spend a couple of months a year in, on the beach, places like Emaar Beachfront, Dubai Harbour, Ocean House from Ellington on the Palm. These are lovely places where you would just want to live all year round if you could. So, yeah, if anyone is interested, if they want to have a chat, even just early days, want to learn a bit more about the macro market here, I'm happy to help jump on a call and go through some bits with everyone.
Yeah, and I think another demographic to add into there to reach out if they are interested is anyone looking to actually relocate to Dubai, because I think people think it's similar to the UK market where you can just rock up and buy a house and it's that simple. But again, like you find in the UK, you are going to be, especially when you're buying for yourself, very picky about where you are, the facilities. You want to make sure you're getting the best deal, and usually the best way to do that is by purchasing off plan, because as Nick's mentioned previously, you can pick the best unit, the best house, or the best location, or the best views if it's an apartment, etc. And in buying off plan will get you genuine discounts and a real good luxury product, which again solidify your property in Dubai for future preference as well, if you are looking to ever sell or if you want to relocate back to the UK or wherever you're based initially. At least then you've got a great asset. So yeah, do reach out if you're thinking about relocating, because Nick and the team can advise on how best to do that and maybe the best sort of developments and locations to be looking at.
Yeah, and when we say off-plan, guys, don't forget we're not always talking about 2, 3, 4 years. You can secure great off-plan property just 12 months from completion, sometimes even less. So, yeah, if there's plenty of opportunities out there and lots of different properties, locations, levels of amenities to consider as well. So we can certainly find something for everyone.
And just lastly, to end on, if you had to give your prediction for the Dubai property market this year, both rental and capital growth wise, where's your head at the moment, Nick?
So I think both are going to continue to see steady demand. I would say probably similar to what we've seen this year. I think 2024 may soften slightly, but there's just no sign of any slowdown happening here. There's no negativity. There's no, uh, you know, big government news changes. You've got to remember Dubai doesn't have the impact that a lot of other global economies do. So there's no, political impact. The currency's pegged to the US dollar. There's a huge amount of, as we know, nationalities from all over the world. So we're not reliant on one demographic. So just all these things in the government plans and how they've delivered on what they said they're going to deliver over the years just leads not only me, but a lot of the experts in the marketplace to see no reason why it should slow down in the next 12 to 24 months. So if I had to put a figure on it, I'd probably say on average, levels that we've seen this year. So maybe, Knight Frank is saying 13.5% average growth in the prime market for Dubai. I would put it very close to that, so maybe between 10 and 13%. The reason being is that's probably going to be a lot of the higher price range stock, which is just huge demand, much more so than the sort of lower end ticket prices, believe it or not. So if you look at the lower end of the market as well, I'd probably say 10, 11%, similar to what we've seen here. Average price growth across that ticket price will be where we could be sitting at the end of 2023. In terms of the rental market, we've seen 20% growth in recent years in some cases, but again, I wouldn't like to put a figure on that because it is incredibly diverse, the rental market here. You can live on pennies or you can live in some of the most expensive rates in the world. And that, those perform very, very differently. So to put it simply, I'd see a steady growth rate on the rental side as well, on average across the city of Dubai.
Yeah, that was literally what I was going to say as well. My thoughts exactly on the rental side, and yeah, I agree in terms of the capital growth as well. So, I'm sold. I'm buying in Dubai now. It's double
Move
digit
over, mate.
digit
Bring your
growth.
family.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think just lastly on that point, I think one of the reassuring things is if it's double digit growth this year, and let's say it's close to double digit growth again the following year, and you're still going to have slight growth the third year as well.
Mm.
If you buy now, that really de-risks your profile in terms of if there was, say, a price drop at some point in the future. Because if you're getting now and you're going to experience before your property's built 30% growth over the next 4 years, well, realistically, for a 30% drop in prices at some point, that's very, very high and
Mm.
very low chance of happening. So you can de-risk slightly by getting in now, getting a discount, and then riding that wave of capital growth as well. It just helps. If people are nervous about not knowing what the property market may do or hold in the future in Dubai, that can sort of help ease your mind with the growth that's going on. Because yeah, if there's a slight drop, it's not really going to dent what you're paying at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And is very easy to reassure investors around that, and people, especially if they're investing remotely, is that goes back to what I said earlier on the transparency of the data. So we'll just give you all the information, and then you can go away and make your own decision. But look at companies like Knight Frank, Savills, CBRE, Cushman & Wakefield, Dubai Land Department data, Property Monitor. The list is endless for you to do your research, so you can see what's going to happen in the market, and you can make an educated decision on that. But just a last quick plug before we do go, we have just launched a project in JLT, which is a location just opposite Dubai Marina. So considered a very, very nice area. Lots of activity. It's the most maturest residential market in Dubai. Typically, it sees the highest volume of transactions, and this project is just over the road. It's by a company called Danube, which is a track developer with a track record of over 30 years. Now, they've actually partnered with Aston Martin to design the interiors of the development. So this is a very, very unique opportunity. It's got stunning rooftop pools, which connect two towers, and a big rooftop cinema. So this is an extremely unique product. It's an amazing location. It's just launched. Prices from around £210,000. And you get a payment plan as well. So you can do your payments in 5-10% installments. And then after handover, 1% installments for, I think it's 36 months, if I remember quickly. So yeah, I would say to anyone that's looking to get in early to an off-plan product, wants to put a low amount of money down, but wants a best-in-class product, to look at this project called Views by Danube in partnership with Aston Martin. So anyone's interested in that, let us know and we'll get some info sent over to you. But yeah, that's a quick plug from me on that project because it's so special.
Is that the one where you can view the cinema from some apartments? Is that a different one?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
well, there's a couple, but you can do in this one as well. Very, very nice.
Imagine that, just sitting in your apartment. Should we go cinema? Yeah, let's go out on the balcony. Coming in.
Nice cold drink in hand on a Sunday afternoon. Very nice.
Oh, excellent. No, I hope that's been informative for everybody listening, whether you're well in tune with the Dubai market or just new to it. And as ever, if you have any questions or want to discuss anything further, please reach out to us and the team at info@trackcapital.co.uk. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.